So, you probably heard that religion is toxic or God is just a control tactic. But is this true? Well, in this episode, I want to talk about what religion actually is and how the world twists it, and why going to the source, so God Himself, is the only way to actually find that answer. Welcome back to Hear Me Out, Just a Thought. Today we're back with God versus the World series where we just test to know who's telling us the truth. What is the best way to live? Is it our way, the culture's way, the world's way, or is it God's way? So I want to talk about religion because God is not a religion. Hear me out, it's just a thought. Today's episode is one I wish someone had done for me years ago. I kind of wish I got somebody to sit me down and tell me the truth when I was younger, especially in a time like this, right? In 2025, where spirituality is very trendy, but religion is a joke. And people proudly say, hey, I'm not religious. I'm not religious. I am not religious. I'm spiritual. And where God is treated like some outdated myth or a symbol of oppression. And I understand it. I understand how we got here. But I also want to talk about the lie behind it because, like I mentioned, God is not a religion. And I know that can sound weird, but maybe even offensive. Like I said, hear me out. The world, I think, says a lot, right? And I've done, I think, 3-4 episodes of this series where we look at a thing, a truth, a concept, a way of living, and we examine what the world teaches us and then what God teaches us, and we make a choice, or at least we try to make a choice between how, the culture is telling you should live and how God tells you should live. And one thing is for sure, it's that the world has done a great job at branding religion as everything but good, right? It's the villain in movies, it's the hypocrite in the news, it's the thing that people escaped from to live their truth. It's dusty rituals, it's rules, it's trauma, it's oppression, it's control. And let me stop you here before you say, hey, Gigi, I went through all of that, so it's true. Of course, right? Some of that criticism is 100% valid. If you were to sit anyone down and say, have you gone through anything bad or traumatic from your religious life, your religious community? Yes, you could find 45 hours straight of people just talking about the 1 year they spent in church, for example. And so religion, I want to say, when it becomes disconnected from the heart of God, well, of course, it can become all of those things. And religion is like any other thing. I will mention that, like I said, if anything good is used in a way that God did not intend it to be used, this is applicable to religion. This is applicable to money. This is applicable to sex. This is applicable to power and authority and influence. Anything that is supposed to be good and gets disconnected from God, my claim is that it becomes all of those things. It becomes the villain. It becomes, what did I say? Hypocrites. It becomes something you need to escape from, something that controls your life. It becomes a ritual, it becomes a rule, it becomes oppression and control. It becomes all of those things. But here is the lie, right? Here is the lie that culture sold us in place of that. And the lie is that we're better off without God. We're better off, without God. We should listen to ourselves first, right? We are powerful enough. We're spiritual enough, right? We don't need to be religious. We're spiritual enough. We are enlightened. We're woke enough to do life on our own terms. And that fulfillment itself comes from freedom, right? Freedom from people, freedom for sometimes accountability, to be honest, and mostly freedom from God. And I will say, again, it's not completely false, because at first, it all feels like freedom. You say no to rules, you cut off what feels restrictive, you do what you want, you prioritize yourself, you chase success and pleasure and independence. But the reality is, and I think you will agree with me, and I think I speak for a lot of people here, slowly this uneasiness creeps in. You know that uneasiness, you know what I'm talking about. That quiet voice that you try to silence with another dessert, another podcast, another sex adventure, another scroll, another trip, another drink, another you got this from your girlfriends or your homeboys. And the feeling that something is just off when everything looks good and should be good. I can't say how many times I have felt this, and I can't say how many times I had people around me tell me that they felt this. Again, you feel like something is off even when everything looks good and should be good. Everything on paper is, you have your ducks in a row, you look fantastic. Maybe you're in a romantic relationship that should have fulfilled you. You have the job, you have the car, you have the finances. What is that thing that creeps in? And so I think that when I look at it, we are promised freedom from the world, but we feel trapped in some kind of performance. I said it on the last episode, second to last episode, where we were talking about being a high value woman. Anything you have to chase and anything you have to constantly fight for in order to keep was never yours. Right? If you have to chase pleasure, if you have to chase independence, if you have to chase success, if you have to numb something in you in order to feel the freedom, you're not actually free. And we were also promised meaning, but we feel more lost than ever. I can see from all of our behavior as time passes, as we have access to, as we see how people live their lives because of social media, I think people feel more lost than ever. And we're promised joy, but we get is mostly noise. And what we get is mostly smokes and mirrors. And so I want to come back to the religion then. Because we're told religion is, toxic and useless, and we're maybe just better off being spiritual, right? Building our own understanding of the world and kind of doing whatever. So what is religion then? Why is there religion? Here's the twist. Religion, its in original purpose, was never meant to be the problem. I know it's like self-evident here, but in its original purpose, it was meant to be the path that helped us, you and me, relate to God. And it's not a cage, and it's not a performance, and it certainly is not a brand, okay? It is a relationship structure, right? Just like you have other relationship structures. This person is my brother. That person is my teacher. That person is my husband or my wife. That person is my child. That other person is my baker, my banker, my, what do you want to call it? My colleague. Every relationship has a structure. It's just that we don't spend millions of times talking about it, right? And so, like a long distance couple that sets weekly FaceTime dates, or a parent who creates routines to stay connected to their child, religion should be the rhythm that helps us keep the relationship alive. I will add to that, religion is the way to communicate with that other person, to serve that other person. But when the rhythm itself, let's say this, when the rhythm itself replaces the relationship, we are just left with rituals and no heart. And I'm going to apply this to any relationship you have. that where you have like traditions, where you have rituals, things that you do. If you have been in a relationship with a man or a woman and you're having sex and you're not committed, or you're having sex but you're not emotionally connected, you're having sex but you're not married, there is no long-term assurance there. You're having sex but there is this dispute that is always ongoing in between you. You're having sex but you're not aligned with them on anything. It becomes just the sex. It becomes the ritual. And over time, you will feel it. Pleasure will be there for a minute or two, but the emptiness will creep in and will grow and grow and grow. If you have a parent or two parents that you have issues with, you have had trauma, with or about, and you're still FaceTiming every, Thursday morning to talk about life, but it's just about the temperature and how things are going, but nothing in terms of a connection, a relationship, a deep love, then those FaceTimes just become rituals. They become empty. They become things that you do that you feel forced to do because you don't even enjoy them. They become something without heart. That's the religion I'm talking about. And that is also what Jesus kept calling out, right? He wasn't necessarily anti-religion, right? He was anti-fake religion. He was anti the thing without the God. He called out the people who were doing all of the religious things but didn't know the God behind them, which, if you have read Matthew, you need to remember that Jesus flipped off on some Pharisees, and they were highly religious people, but the relationship with God was lacking. And so in its initial purpose, religion was supposed to be the path that helped us relate to God, right? Now, fast forward to today, I guess religion is used oftentimes to manipulate people, or because we are in 2025, here's the newer version of fake religion, which is now it's being marketed as some cute aesthetic, right? The truth is buried under centuries of human error and bad PR, right? The truth is just pushed back. Now it's an aesthetic, and now it's a way to manipulate people, and now it's also a way to sometimes make money. And most people never bother to go to the source. They believe what they are hearing from TikTok or from that one documentary about that cult or that pastor or that priest or that leader, or a bad church experience in their cities. But if we want to know what things are really about, we would recognize that as much as we're being told that religion is bad, useless, toxic, we're also recognizing that whatever is proposed as an alternative lifestyle, right? Me, my goals, my paths, my plans, my pleasure, my success, it still leaves us with that thirst inside. So what do we do? On one side, we have the bad religion, the fake things, the abuse, the traumas, the lies, the manipulation, the money being stolen from us, and the things that are being imposed on us as rules. So we definitely don't want to go religion. But on the other side, we have this race to success, race to pleasure, race to feel something more. And we expose ourselves to every and anything possible in order to fulfill that, but it's still not working. We have to numb ourselves. We have to scroll, we have to drink, we have to smoke, we have to have sex, we have to do this in order to numb all of that and to feel the thing that we're supposed to feel. So it doesn't look right on either side. But I want to suggest that if you want to find out the real meaning of religion, don't stop at the drama. Don't stop at the news. Don't stop at the hurt, and actually go to the source. Open the Gospels and look at Jesus. Look at the one who said he was the path. Not the version that culture made, not the meme not the guy with the picket sign outside your door, just the real one. And there is a way to find out what religion was meant to be, and it's called, in Christianity, for example, it's called the Bible. Now, on this channel, I do argue that God isn't real, but also that Christianity is true. And so when I speak of going to the source, Christians have a way to get to the source, which is the Bible. Open it, test it out, read, find out what it was supposed to be, and then compare it with what culture is teaching us. Because here's the truth, and I will end with this. Religion is not really what the world makes it out to be. It's not just rules and shame and Sunday services. It is a system that at its best, when it's connected to God, helps you stay close to God, right? Anything that is supposed to be good, but you remove God from it, will equal trauma and abuse and control and manipulation. I'll repeat that until the day I die. Anything that is supposed to be good, but you remove God from it, will lead to all of the above. The sex, the money, like I said, the power, the influence, being a parent, being a child, having money, having means and resources, every single thing that is very good and powerful, when you remove God from it, the structure, right, the system, it will lead you on the left side of things, right? And so if you want to understand religion, you need to get to the source. You need to bring the source back in, not just the people, not just the feelings, certainly not just the vibes. We as people that are curious, need to go to him, to God, because at the center of everything is a God who wants us, right? God does not want our performance. God does not want us to go to church every Sunday. God does not want us to pray a certain way. God does not want us to bake a cake for that brother or sister who's lost somebody. God does not want us to stay with our burning desires and never have sex. God does not want us to be poor. God does not want any bad thing to happen to you or me. He wants us, right? He wants us, because when we give ourselves to God, things start changing. We are a new creation. Now we want those things. Now we want to go to church. We actually want to go to church. Nobody's forcing anybody in 2025 to go to church who is, a grown person. We want to be committed, whereas at first it could have been difficult and downright looking, why would I commit if I can just sleep around? Bizarrely enough, now you want to commit, you want to be stable, you want to respect the other person. God does not want us to be poor, right? He's not asking you to empty your bank account and give it to whatever pastor you have. But weird enough, when you give your heart to him and start living a life where you understand that you're blessed, you also want to bless other people. You want to. It's not that you're forced to. You want to. All of a sudden, you want to take care of people around you, and you want to talk about God. You want to spread the gospel. You want to, because from the faith comes the work. But the Bible teaches us that the works without faith are dead. They're just dead. Your actions are dead, right? And so I guess while I leave you, before you click away and go about your life and just scroll or go to the next thing, I want us to ask ourselves, have we been judging religion based on the world's definition of religion or on God's definition of religion? Are we actually seeking the truth, or are we kind of settling for what is popular? And if we're settling for something for its aesthetic or the fact that it's popular, do we realize that not so long, in a few maybe days, months, years from now, we will feel empty as well, because we're taking God out of it? Let me rephrase this. What if we've been throwing away the entire treasure, because someone was handing it to us in a a bad jar, in a cracked jar. I'll leave you with that reflections, because maybe you're not into religion. Maybe you're, as you say, it's spiritual, but maybe that's because you've never actually met God. And don't take my word for it. Don't take the world's word for it. Go find out for yourself. If this helped you in any way or challenged what you believed, you know what? Don't keep it to yourself. Like the video to let me know. Comment if there's something that you want to share with us. It could be encouragement. It could be your life experience. It could be whatever you agree or disagree with what I said. But mostly share it with somebody who's on the same journey as you or who needed to hear this. And if you're ready to start looking into the source, grab the Bible. It's never too late, and just start with the book of John to understand what is this path? Who is this Jesus? And you can find that all in the book of John. I'm just here to point you back to the one who never actually left. So thank you for listening, and I will see you next time.